And what is up, everyone? TCT back again with Elizabeth Pinky Squirrel. And today, I am taking her to see Forrest Gump for the first time, guys. She has never seen Forrest Gump. Are you excited for this? You've heard so many people talk about this.
I've heard the quotes. I remember it being on the shelf in the VHS.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember the movie.
Well, we're about to go in here and watch Forrest Gump. Guys, I don't even have to say anything. It's my most quoted movie of all time. It's in my top 10. It's one of my favorite films ever made. It's my favorite Tom Hanks movie. Gary Sinise is amazing in it as well. So let's go inside and see what she thinks about Forrest Gump. This is a free victory screening for Alamo, guys. We have the Alamo Season Pass, which is only $19.99 a month, and you get unlimited movies. I've actually had to explain that to somebody this week.
Wow.
They're like, wait a minute, unlimited movies? I'm like, yeah, if you go every weekend, it's worth every penny. If you go once, you're still paying about $20, $30, all that stuff. But if you have the Alamo Season Pass or even the Regal Season Pass, any kind of Season Pass, you get one free movie a day. A day. You can go see it as many times as you want. You don't have to pay a thing. You're paying just the price. Basically, they're doing this to get you in there to buy their concessions. That's how they stay in business. And when you go in there and buy their concessions, that's how they can afford to give you this. You know, so go in there and do that, guys. We're about to head in and see Forrest Gump. We'll see you guys in a few minutes. See, guys, this is what we're talking about. Right there. $19.99 a month. All right, welcome back. We just got out of Forrest Gump. You all know what I think of the movie. Solid A, one of the greatest movies of all time. What do you think?
That was
Speak up now, they can't hear you.
That was a good movie.
It was a good movie, right?
A very emotional movie.
Newsflash, she cried at the end. She did. She cried at the end. She must have had a good time watching it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over a couple of questions. Tom Hanks.
He did excellent.
Best role you've seen him in so far?
I liked him in that role. He definitely studied the character.
He definitely studied the character. One thing I will say is that it's very different than the book that it's based on, but they were allowed to do that. Zemeckis had some ideas to change some things, and it really worked. It really worked. I can give my opinions on it all day. What'd you think of Robert Zemeckis' direction and, shots, the
shots, the little where the connections were made in the beginning and end.
Where the connections were made in the beginning and end, like what? Like with the legs?
The feather.
Oh, the feather. Okay, so
the feather was what got me.
And you notice how he put it in the Curious George book, the book
right.
that his mom used to read him.
Right in the middle.
And then the book he gives to his son at the end, right?
Yep.
Okay. Definitely good. Then we have Sally Field. Mom.
I loved watching her as the mom.
As the mom, she's great,
because I
isn't
grew
she?
up watching her as a flying nun.
Mm-hmm.
And her as a mom was just great.
Mm-hmm.
Very good character for her.
And your favorite that you were looking forward to seeing was Gary Sinise. Playing Lieutenant Dan.
Love Gary Sinise, and he was in all the different variations of Lieutenant Dan throughout the movie.
So, for those of you who haven't seen it, which I don't know if you've been living under a rock, she at least saw it when she was younger, but didn't remember much.
No.
Lieutenant Dan is straight healthy when he's in Vietnam, gets shot, gets his legs cut off, saved by Forrest, and he didn't want to be saved by Forrest. He was generational, and I really like the fact that you seen him bleed his emotions into Forrest, and then Forrest just shrugs it off and says, when he goes, I had a destiny. I was Lieutenant Dan Taylor, and Forrest just like, you're still Lieutenant Dan.
You still are.
You still are. He probably needed to hear that, and then running into him in New York City, I think right there, where I guess they're strippers. They were strippers.
Yeah, they were.
Or escort girls.
Yeah.
Started calling Forrest stupid. And then, my favorite line, sorry I ruined your New Year's Eve party, Lieutenant Dan, but she tastes like cigarettes.
Yep.
That's my favorite line in the movie because I think it's hysterical, and it's also very accurate to a guy that he's almost autistic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Almost autistic.
Very literal.
They would very literally say things like that, which I absolutely love that line. But when they call him stupid, Lieutenant Dan's having none of it, even though he's shown he hates Forrest, like his guts.
Yep.
Because he's going through his own demons.
Right.
He has none of it. He's like, don't call them stupid. You take your clothes and you get out of here.
Yep.
Then Forrest apologized, and then he goes, Happy New Year, Gump. So he cared about Forrest in that situation.
And in that kind of sequence, there was a song about seasons of life. And for every season, there is.
Yeah, and they're watching that. He's like, have you found Jesus yet, Gump?
Yep.
I didn't know I was supposed to be looking for him, sir.
Yeah, that was great.
And
that reminded me of my grandpa. Very literal. I mean,
yeah,
very simple.
All right, now we got to get to the controversial subject in the room.
What?
One that all fans are divided on. They've been bashing her for years. They have made up a lot of things about her, but I've got a very literal opinion about Robin Wright's character, Jenny.
Jenny.
So, if you guys pay attention, you can tell she's molested as a child.
Right.
When Forrest comes in to the cornfield with her, you see her shirt is ripped. She has blood all over the bottom of her dress. She was raped. She was punched by her father. And that's why she's scared to death, and then she goes to live with her grandma, and which is why she's probably always going over to Forrest's house anytime there's noise, because she's scarred.
Right.
And then she had the need for human contact, as you see in the movie. Like, she's always like touching him, and because she doesn't know any better from when she was a child, she was almost trained to do that.
Right.
Which is why she's so messed up in the head, doing her drugs and all that. But there's one scene in the movie when people are like, at the end of the movie, we all know that Jenny ends up having a kid because her and Forrest, do the deed.
Yeah.
Late in the movie, and they're like, well, there's no way that that's Forrest's kid. Jenny is just a skank, doesn't have money. She's dying, so she wants someone to take care of her child. You caught it.
No, I caught it before she said it too.
Yeah.
Because he ran to the TV just like Forrest ran.
But you caught the what Zemeckis added into that scene to prove that was Forrest's child.
And then
it was when they're watching, they go like this. See that?
Yeah.
That is proven it's genetic. Now, say what you will, I love Haley Joel Osment, and I mean the dude is magnificent in The Sixth Sense. And guys, if you haven't seen the movie Pay It Forward, amazing movie with Kevin Spacey.
That is an amazing movie.
It's Helen Hunt.
Helen Hunt, yeah.
Kevin Spacey and Haley Joel Osment. I watched that when I was younger. Fantastic film. Very emotional movie. And Haley Joel Osment, like, he steals me. Like, I've been a fan of his ever since that movie. Everybody likes him in The Sixth Sense. I like him in Pay It Forward. I think it's an amazing, incredible movie. But this is probably one of his first roles here in Forrest Gump. But anyway, let's get back to Jenny. The scene that I want to tell everybody about, like, first there's the scene where he's telling her he's going to Vietnam. And she gets scared.
Right.
She stops and she says, hold on a second. And she goes up and she grabs him by the hand and says, you promised me something. If you ever need to be brave, you just run. You just run away, because she wants him to live.
Right.
But also she doesn't think that he can do it. She doesn't know if he's smart enough to do it, in which one of the reasons he gives her the Medal of Honor is because he did exactly what she said to do. He ran away. Then he ran back.
He kept running.
And he kept running, So the scene that I want to talk about is when Jenny had done the heroin.
Right.
She did the cocaine first and then had done the heroin.
Right, with the needles.
She got up on the ledge. I remember seeing your reaction when she got up on that ledge. Like, you were just like,
I didn't think she was done.
But you don't know, because she's proven to be unpredictable. Right. She was very unpredictable. Right. Okay. She had done it before. Because when she had told Forrest during that Vietnam scene, asked if she could jump off the bridge. Remember?
She could fly off the bridge.
So that's another attempt at suicide.
Yeah.
And I keep like Forrest is there at that moment to stop her, and she is like, no, I can't do that in front of Forrest.
Right.
Because she loves Forrest, and she won't admit it, but she loves Forrest. And the moment that she's on the ledge, and then she gets scared and she sits down in that chair and she starts looking out to the sky, she's thinking about Forrest. You can just tell she's thinking about Forrest. That's what stopped her. That's always what I thought. What stopped her is what's going to happen with Forrest if I'm not here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that man thinks the world of me, even though I don't think of him that way at this moment.
Right.
Which is why she ends up on his doorstep.
After that. Yeah.
What did you think about when she came home and just slept, and then they spent a lot of months together?
I loved that part. It made me happy.
The Sweet Home Alabama scene.
It was so sweet.
And then there aren't enough rocks scene, you know?
Oh, yeah. That was special.
Very special. Very special. Now, what were you going to say before that?
Oh, I didn't want that time to end.
You didn't want that time to end? Like you said, it was the happiest time of his life, right? Then what happens?
The taxi shows up.
Not just that, but what does he do to cause that, other than have sex with her? What does he say the night before?
Oh, he asked her to marry him.
And what does she say? You don't want to marry me.
You don't want to marry me.
Because it's not that she doesn't love Forrest, which she tells him that night that she does. It's that she doesn't think she deserves Forrest.
Yeah, she thinks so low of herself.
She thinks so low of herself, of what she's done in her life, that Forrest deserves much better than her.
Right.
Which is, Forrest can't comprehend what that is. When she's like, he's like, why don't you love me, Jenny? Like, he can't tell that she does, but
she loves him. She didn't love herself.
She didn't love herself. And then after, they did that night, she didn't love what she had done.
Right.
Because she was probably scared of what she had done. Because she still didn't want to be with him and hurt him. At least that's what I think. A lot of fans are going to be like, oh, no, she's just a SLUT, and it's like, no.
I think she really didn't love herself.
I've seen the comments over the years, like on YouTube and online about Jenny. Like, people just bash her, and it's like, look, man, we all know what she has at the end of the movie when she's sick. It's AIDS.
Right.
Because
it's the 80s.
Because it's the 80s, and then
the new virus.
It's the new virus, and they don't know how to stop it, and a lot of it is because of the sexually transmitted diseases or the heroin or the needles, whatever she did, she was able to get it. And I honestly believe she wouldn't have told Forrest about little Forrest because she didn't want Forrest to have to worry about that until little Forrest was much older.
Right. But
to where she knew that little Forrest could take care of himself and then meet his dad, who can't really take care of himself, but he's always finding a way to do that,
Right. But he said, I'm making them breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day.
Yeah.
And he said at the end, and that made me cry.
Yeah. When he said, I miss you, Jenny, at the end, that's what really made you cry. Like, I saw the tears running down her face under the tree.
Their tree.
Under their tree, yeah. The tears were running down her face. I had to hand her a tissue, But I remember the first time I watched this movie, I felt the same. I didn't cry as much, but I was close, Yeah. It always made my grandmother cry when we watched that at the end. But we seen it so much over the years that she didn't cry as much. But I knew she probably would, since she gets like emotionally attached to characters just like I do.
Yeah.
There's been movies that'll make me cry. This was one of them when I was a young kid. I saw this movie like when I was 4 or 5 years old. And I had been watching it from I rented it from Blockbuster and was like, what is this? This is a great movie, man. The Run Forrest Run scene where he breaks out of his braces, one of the best scenes in the history of cinema.
Oh, I love that scene.
It's an amazing scene. And then when he's running at Alabama, run, you stupid SOB, run.
And then they finally put a sign that says stop.
Then they put a sign that says stop because he bashes into the band. There's so many great quotes in the movie. Life is like a box of chocolates. I guess sometimes there aren't enough rocks. What else does he say that you like? Gump, what's your sole purpose in this army? To do whatever you tell me, drill sergeant?
Yep.
I love that line, Very literal, you know. And he's like, damn it, Gump, you're a damn genius.
Yeah.
I love it, man. It's good. And then
favorite,
Bubba.
My favorite was the fruit company.
Oh, he got me invested in this fruit company. And then he called me back and said, we don't have to worry about money no more. And I said, that's good. One less thing. He got invested in Apple, basically.
Apple. Yep.
And it made him a very rich man. Bubba. We haven't come to Bubba.
I had a feeling he was going to die in Vietnam, but I didn't like it.
You didn't like, because the Vietnam scene is probably the greatest moments in the movie. Like, it's really tough to see, especially when Forrest is saving all these people. And then at the end, he's like, I gotta find Bubba!
And the one person he isn't able to take home alive
is Bubba. Because he's very late getting to Bubba. But I think the scene where you see Forrest flying by everybody and then he zooms past Bubba, you're like, uh-oh. Bubba's gonna die.
Yeah.
That's when you realize Bubba's gonna die.
And then when he picks up everybody but Bubba.
But Bubba, he can't find Bubba.
And then he hears his... Yeah.
But the reason why Bubba was very important is because it taught Forrest, like, he didn't have many friends.
No.
And he taught Forrest everything he knew about the shrimping business. And then when he goes down to Louisiana, then Lieutenant Dan, who had made him a promise,
right.
I will be your first mate if you ever become a shrimp boat captain. So after he plays ping pong and gets all that money,
right,
which I thought was fantastic. It was a little white lie. Mama said a little white lie won't ever hurt nobody, you know.
And it didn't.
And it didn't. So what did you think about the shrimping stuff? We all know Bubba Gump Shrimp. It's actually a real company that sells food here in the United States. Good restaurant. You know, I've ate there before.
I liked how they weren't getting anything until the hurricane.
What'd you think about Lieutenant Dan's powerful scene during that hurricane?
Oh my gosh, Lieutenant Dan, he was one of my
It's time for a showdown! You and me! I'm right here! Come and get me!
Yep.
You'll never sink this boat!
And it didn't.
And it didn't go down.
And they got their shrimp. They were the only ones.
Forrest, I never thanked you for saving my life.
Yep, and it brought them together.
It brought them together, you know. And then when Forrest and Jenny are getting married at the end of the movie, who shows
that
up?
Was beautiful.
Who shows up with magic legs. Like Forrest started out with in the movie, his magic legs, his braces. So there's another parallel. They're both just alike. Lieutenant Dan and Forrest had both lost something. And remember when he's like, do you know what it's like to not be able to use your legs? Well, yes, sir, I do.
It does.
It very literally answers that question. And then you see that Lieutenant Dan has his legs, his magic legs, and he's all cleaned up. He's all shaven.
Right.
That woman has changed his life. You can tell that his life had been changed by getting rich, working hard, and making peace.
Right.
Instead of being drunk. It's such a strong movie, man. Like, and you see all the quips of Alabama, you know, the black and white segregations, the shootings of the presidents. He met the president 3 times in the movie, you know, embarrassed himself all 3 times as well, you know, with Watergate, and then showing his butt to Johnson. Was it Johnson? Yeah. And then telling John F. Kennedy, I have to go pee, like, you know.
Yep.
It's like, man, what else can't you say about Forrest Gump? Like, what's your favorite moment in the movie?
I think, even though it made me cry, it was the graveyard scene where he's under
with Jenny
the tree.
When he gives the letter to
that was the longest scene I think was in the movie.
It's one of the longest scenes. Yeah. He's like, I had that house bulldozed to the ground. Teaching little Forrest how to play ping pong. We fish a lot. And every night we read a book. He's so smart, Jenny. You'd be so proud of him. I am.
It was, yeah.
You know, like, it's a powerful scene. He says he wrote you a letter and I can't read it. He says I'm not supposed to, so I'm just going to leave it here for you.
And it has in children's handwriting.
Mom. It's really, really sweet, you know. And he's watching Bert and Ernie when they meet, you know, which kind of what they are. You know, they're the Bert and the Ernie of the movie, you know.
Right.
You know, they're kind of nutheads. And I like the whole parallel where Forrest gets on the bus at the beginning. He's like, I'm not supposed to take rides from strangers. And she's like, this is the bus to the school. Well, I'm Forrest Gump, and I'm Dorothy Harris. So I'm guessing the Dorothy Harris at the end with Haley Joel Osment is a descendant of that Dorothy
daughter,
Harris. Maybe the daughter, maybe. It's the same actress,
Yeah.
but she's much more cleaned up, and I don't think she's smoking.
Younger.
She's chewing gum in this
Chewing
one.
gum, yeah.
And she goes, "You understand this is the bus to school now, don't you?" He goes, "Of course. And you're Dorothy Harris, and I'm Forrest Gump."
Mm-hmm.
Shows that his son is much smarter than he is.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
But they're alike.
And they're alike, you know, like he's gonna be a small fry, like just
He
like
is.
Forrest was, you know what I'm saying?
is.
But it's a wonderful story, guys. You know me, I give it an A plus. Like if I give it a rating out of 10, it's always like a 9.8 out of 10. It's not perfect. I still think there could be more added in, especially like the John Lennon scenes, like when he meets the famous people. You know, I want more of those, a lot more of those. Because I thought that was the funnest part, is when he's meeting these famous people.
And
he gets up on the stage. He's like, "The war in Vietnam."
Yep.
Sorry, I can't say that on YouTube. I'll get a strike for that.
Yep.
But you gotta, you know, it's such a good movie.
It's a movie about seasons of life.
It's a movie about seasons of life, and then you follow some great events like the moon landing.
Right.
Nobody was watching the moon landing because they was watching him play ping pong.
Right.
You know, it's great.
But those little tidbits brought you through the timeline.
Yeah, brought you to time
And
up.
they didn't have to say, well, now it's 1982.
What grade does it get for you? Because you know it's like one of my favorite films of all time. It's my most quoted film ever. Like I've never quoted a film more than I have this movie.
I'd give it an A.
She'd give it an A, a solid A plus, A. What?
It's an A, right up there with
What out of 10?
I give it a 9.8.
9.8, just like me. Okay,
Like you.
So that's an A plus then.
Yeah,
She'd give it an A plus. It's an amazing movie, man. Like when you say, like I told her when it started to pay attention to his shoes when the feather hit his shoes. I said, "Look at those shoes. Pay attention to the shoes."
Right.
And she's like, "What?" I said, "Those shoes have been through hell. You're about to see hell." And sure enough, when you see Jenny give him the shoes during the Sweet Home Alabama scene,
Right.
well, how do they get mud all over them?
More
Stuff happens. You got to keep watching. More stuff happens to him. So he goes running across America. That was one of the better scenes in the movie, too. Yeah. 65, I was 17 and running up 101. Running on empty.
That was great. The songs tied into the scenes.
The songs
were
fantastic in the movie,
I
man.
loved how that worked.
Some folks are born made to wave
And
the
that's
flag.
from Vietnam.
Ooh, the red, white, and blue.
The songs,
I'm going to get a copyright strike just for doing that on here, okay? But she gives it a 9.8. I've always had it at a 9.8. It's not a perfect movie. Robert Zemeckis, the guy that
the directing.
He did Back to the Future with Steven Spielberg. You know, he did a fantastic job. To me, this is my favorite Zemeckis film. I love Back to the Future, but Forrest Gump is my favorite Zemeckis film.
Yeah.
This is my favorite Tom Hanks movie as well.
I'd say so.
You know, he did great as Mr. Rogers, as Walt Disney. He did great in A League of Their Own. He does great in Big. That's another.
Big's one of my favorites.
Big is probably one of my favorite movies of Tom Hanks. It's probably my second favorite, right behind Forrest Gump. But this is the movie that shot him into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you haven't seen Forrest Gump, you're living under a rock, but I'm pretty sure you can check HBO Max or Paramount Plus. I mean, it's a Paramount movie. I don't see why Paramount wouldn't have it anywhere.
Yeah, grab your tissues.
Guys, all you have to do is wait for Memorial Day or the 4th of July to be able to watch. It'll be all over television.
Yep.
At least 3 or 4 stations will be showing it that day. Yep. TNT, TBS. I can tell you the stations. TNT, TBS, FX, and AMC will be having Forrest Gump on at some point. Right. You need to watch it. Watch Forrest Gump. They will cut a lot out on the TV, which is why I highly recommend watching it not on TV, but either on a streaming or purchasing the movie. So, guys, thank you all for watching this video. I'm so glad she got to see this, especially in the theater where it belongs. If you ever get a chance to go to Alamo Drafthouse, guys, I beg you, $19.99 a month, you get unlimited movies, especially for movies like this, where you don't want to pay the $13 to go see it. We didn't have to pay a dime. We just went in there, ordered food, and watched the movie. And, you know, we could go every night if we want to for just $19.99. Guys, you seen it in the little clip that I showed you, all right? So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, this is TCT and Pinky Squirrel Elizabeth signing off. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you guys for watching this video. We got more to come, man. We got Deadpool coming out. Beetlejuice 2 is coming out. I've seen that trailer now 3 times.
3 times.
In the movie theater. That's my most anticipated movie. Beetlejuice is my most anticipated movie, probably because the writers and producers of Smallville and Wednesday are doing Beetlejuice with Tim Burton. So I'm very excited, which is why Jenna Ortega is in the movie. So thank you guys for watching this video. See you again on the next one. Woo! Forrest Gump. Was life like a box of chocolates?
You never know what you're going to get.
You never know what you're going to get. See you next time.